Hey guys, Chris Spears here, tech director on the project, and also do a little bit of design on the side. I wanted to be in the live stream today, but I couldn't make it because I'm preparing to go on my first vacation over a year. My daughter gets to go on her first plane ride. Very, very exciting. So before we do that, I just want to start off, give you guys a little information. I want to start off with the usual thing that I'm sure you will hear in Star's voice, which is, don't lawyer me, bro. All this stuff is in implementation right now. Designs are set, but as you guys know, we are not the type that gets stuck to a design if the design ends up not being fun. So the thing we're talking about right now is player-made dungeons. As everybody knows, the episode 2 stuff, a big part of the expansion for it is going to be to expand sandbox play. So one of the biggest things is building content yourself. One of the things we have is the first thing that's going to come out is going to be building player dungeons. This will be done by crafting pieces of the dungeon. You'll have an entrance that'll work similar to a basement that you can place it on your lot, and you have the basement or the dungeon entrance on your lot. You'll be able to craft the pieces and build out the dungeon by connecting pieces. The pieces know how to connect. You can go and build out whatever size dungeon you want to. The pieces that actually are placed in there will be crafted by players. This is done through a blueprint system that you'll be able to purchase many blueprints from merchants, and you'll be able to craft those. The blueprints will be consumed in, but you'll buy a blueprint for like a 3x3 room, and it'll have some amount of 300 stone or 600 stone and some lumber, and you'll actually craft the room. Then once you have that craft, you can take it down and connect it to your dungeon. So the blueprint system is actually something I hadn't talked about much, which is actually cool because it allows us to have the merchants sell the boring ones, the ones you really need, the bones of the dungeon type stuff, not the coolest rooms. And then we can put the coolest rooms in there by having creatures drop blueprints, and that's something we can do also to spice up areas and get players go to areas. For instance, those who've been to Ravensmoor, imagine if you went to Ravensmoor and the final boss room, that's like the Lich room with a big throne and the raised dais and all that stuff, that could actually be a blueprint that drops, and the only place it drops is off of the boss there. So there's actually, it gives us a reason, it gives us like cool loot that's unique. We're always looking for new, cool, rewarding loot that feels neat, and giving people a reason to go to different spaces. So that's one that'll start dropping in those things, because a lot of those rooms, that's what you'll be crafting. You'll be crafting a big room like that, not just a single like tiny square type thing. It'll be large crafting endeavors. So then the cooler things will be dropping in game rather than being on merchants. I'm sure you can buy them off other people's vendors, and then we'll probably sell visual variants in the store on things. How big can the dungeons get? They'll start at around 100 8 meter by 8 meter by 5 meter sections, and they'll go up to about 225 for castles is our current size. You can then expand them through gold, similar to how you expand your bank, where you can pay gold to expand them to be much larger, and then at some point you can pay Kodos to expand them beyond that if you want to. We also do hope to have a pot variation at some point that pot owners will be able to place and give rights to, so that it can be done as like a big community activity of getting together and building the big pot dungeon. Something that can attract people to your own player-owned town. The encounter spaces in them, I've talked a little bit about these, but for those who don't know, these are real dungeons. These will have encounters in them. When you're building the dungeon, you'll be able to set it into deco mode from outside. You can only change the mode outside the dungeon. If you change it and somebody's in there, they get kicked out. When you go into the space, you will be in deco mode. You'll actually see extra information like for connection points, so you know how things can connect, you know where you can connect always. And the encounter spaces won't spawn. In the actual play mode though, the encounter spaces will spawn. The creatures there will give experience and loot. The current thinking is that they will be a little below, like if it fights like a tier 10 creature, it may only give the loot of a tier 8 creature. So they'll be a little bit below the current, what you get outside the dungeon, and the spaces where they spawn, these are going to be spaces set up for these encounters, and they will not be decoratable. Most of the dungeon will be decoratable, but if it's an encounter space, we don't let you deco in those spaces, except for maybe some wall hanging stuff, because we don't want you to screw up nav mesh, and like, you can imagine building paths for the things out of barrels, so they have to walk through paths, and lots of different exploits can come up from that. So that is how we're avoiding those obvious exploits. Let's see. So I'm trying to remember what other stuff we have. Oh, what's going live today? So what's going live today is just because we've had a ton of people asking about it and super excited about it, we are adding to the store today 4 visual variants. There will be 1 craftable, believe it or not, and I believe 4 going in the store. That'll be the different cool visual variants for the dungeon entrances. Obviously, we do not have the dungeon stuff live now. We do expect it before the end of the year. And my hope is that we can actually get some initial version of it live in R58. Don't tell Star I said that though. But we are making super fast progress on it, just with having 1 or 2 people on it. And of course, it's something everybody's excited about, so I keep having to smack people and telling them to bugs first, performance second, then when you're done with those things, then you can continue working on some dungeon stuff. But anyways, we're making super fast progress on that, so I expect something to go live in R58 that may just be the building the bones of the dungeon space. But today there's going to be 4 visual entrances. So right now these are just going to work like basements. In the long run, it's going to be you'll have a basement slot and a dungeon slot, and you'll be able to have both of those. For now, it's just going to take your basement slot, so you'll have to pick up your old basement if you have them down there. Or you can just put this different visual variant on your existing basement maybe. But you'll be able to have the dungeons. These will come with another thing we're throwing in now, just get people excited and to show them what they can create with the system once it goes live. Is we've built 5 dungeons out of the base building block stuff, and we're going to be putting those in them. The bigger the thing that you buy, the bigger the size of the dungeon that's going to be under there. Now, once once the actual system goes live, we're going to be taking those dungeons up, and they'll be replaced with just the front room, the entryway. But for all the other pieces, what we're doing to kind of make it just a starter kit is if you have one of these dungeons, and it's like, I think the big one may be a 150-point dungeon. When we pick it up, we give you just the entrance room with the connections on it for how to start it. But we will be giving you, for all the pieces we took away from you, we'll be giving you the blueprints for those so that you could actually go back and craft that dungeon yourself from those blueprints. All you'd have to do is gather the resources to craft them. And as I put it, this is kind of we take away the dungeon, but we give you a dungeon with some assembly required. And I'm getting short on my time here. I promise I'm keep it short because Keith and Sarah have their own interesting stuff to talk about. So those things will be going live in the store now. It's going to be some different visual variants for entryways into these dungeons. And again, right now they're going to have placeholder versions of some static dungeons showing off some difficulties. And I think I made the biggest one that's like standing stones with kind of a lunar rift looking thing, but I think it's actually an astral rift is what it's called. But that one, I think the dungeon on that may be 150 point, and it will be as tough as any space in the game right now. So players can go try that out and see what they think about it and get an idea for what 150 points feels like. And again, we hope to have this stuff live by R58 in some form. So enjoy those static dungeons while you can, because they'll probably be yanked up and destroyed, and you'll just get the blueprints so you can go and craft them yourself. But you will be crafting them with the base versions. So you'll get if there's an undead room or spider room or whatever, it'll be the base spider room. You'll have to level that room up yourself over time. Anyways, trying to keep it to 5 minutes. I did 9 minutes. Sorry guys, but thanks to everyone for listening, and see you guys in a week, because I am off. See ya. Bye.